This conversation begins with the question, should Christians be depressed? Yeah, that's a big question. That's a heavy question. That's a loaded question. Before you answer that question, though, follow me just a little bit, okay? Let me give you the definition for depression, first of all. It's feelings of severe despondency, which means unhappiness. Severe unhappiness. Feelings of severe unhappiness or dejection or being rejected. And so I think we all can relate to this one. We all have been unhappy in life. And some of you are unhappy right now. Now, some of you are fake. I mean, some of you are just living a fake life. And, well, now, believers in Jesus Christ, we should never be depressed. We should never be unhappy. I mean, how many of you think that you should never be depressed? Yeah, I was one of those people. I'm one of you. I'm one of you who think that once I gave my life to Jesus Christ, everything was going to be like, ice cream every day, birthday cake. It's going to be bells and parties and wow, it's going to be great. And all that is true. But let's be for real. We can't be fake. Life has a way of hitting you right in the middle of your core, right in the middle of your gut. So when we ask the question, should Christians be depressed? The answer is yes, we all go through depression. Each and every one of us. Now, some of you fake rascals like I was, keep on fooling yourself because we all have a story. Each and every one of us have a story of grief, if you will. And keep in mind, that's what depression is. It's a form of grief. It's what have I lost? What have you lost in life? And it's not always you lost a person. It's because you lost some things in life. But depression comes to all of us. It sits at the door waiting. It's knocking at the door for all of us. So as we continue to segue into this word depression or depressed, I want to look at this from a different perspective. We always look at someone being depressed. He's depressed because of. She's depressed due to. And so we're always looking at the individual who is depressed, and rightfully so, because it normally starts with someone. But keep in mind, depression comes out of the loss of something or someone. And it can be very severe. And so when you look at it, I picked out two stories in the Bible that I think really gives us a good insight of depression from a family structure. Yes, from a family structure. And so I picked out the first story is out of the book of Luke, chapter 15, verse 20. And we're talking about the prodigal son. We know the story. The prodigal son asked his dad to give him his inheritance. Give me all my money. I'm grown. I want to go do my own thing. And so the father gave him his inheritance, but he also gave his other brother his inheritance as well. And so here's family. And so the prodigal son goes away and he loses his money. We all know the story. He wastes his money. He basically have a financial hardship. He's lost his finances. So let's be for real. Whenever you lose something that's significant, that's a form that could be a state of depression. Just depends on how you maneuver through it. But he leaves the family structure, which we all have to do that as well. So it's going to happen. There will be some grieving, some mourning when your children leave. That's acceptable. That's normal. But the Bible tells us that when the father sees him in Luke chapter 15, verse 20, but when he was yet a great way off, we're talking about the prodigal son, as he decides to come home because he's broke, he's busted and disgusted. Okay, he's frustrated. He's wasted his money. But the father sees him from a great way off. That's a long ways. Great way off means long. That's a long ways off. That's like from here to Fort Worth. He sees him a long ways off. He sees him coming though, which means to me the father has been looking. Yeah, the father has been in some state of depression. And keep in mind, depression can be a lot of different states. It doesn't mean it's because of something really horrific. It's just that I just don't know how to cope. I don't have the right coping mechanism to deal with this particular loss, if you will. And so the Bible tells us he sees him a great way off, and the father runs to him and shows him compassion, and he kisses and hugs him, and he's just all over him. And the other brother, is jealous. He's envious. Because keep in mind, the family structure, when someone is lost in the family structure, then there's always a disconnect from the family structure with other members in the family. And so the Bible tells us a perspective of the father. It tells us a perspective of the prodigal son. And then it gives us some insight to the other brother who has this basically selfishness within himself. Because I truly believe that when the prodigal son left, the father had been grieving, mourning, if you will, in depression all those years. And so the other brother felt like he lost his father as well as he lost his brother. So you got lost all over the place. And so I told you, the family structure can be impacted by one person, just one person bringing depression on the whole family. If not the word depression, definitely distress the whole family. And so this story is kind of intriguing because it never tells us anything about the mother. Any loss of a child to a mother is devastating. Not this particular case. He's a grown man. He's leaving to go and sow his oats, so it's okay, but it's still a loss. Follow me as I tie this back into the story with David and Bathsheba. King David seen Bathsheba, and he warned her, and so he took her. Let's just make this real quick and to the point. He committed adultery with Bathsheba, had her husband put on the front line where he got killed. They had a baby, and the Bible tells us that the Lord struck the baby with illness. And so the baby didn't make it, the baby died. But through this whole process, if you know it, the Bible is very descriptive in telling us detail, point by point, what David was doing. David was fasting, David was praying, hoping God would heal his son. But God didn't. And the Bible tells us that as soon as David found out that his son was not healed, guess what David did? David got up, he washed his face, he put on some more clothes, and the Bible said he started eating. Because David realized if the Lord didn't resurrect him, then so be it, it's not going to happen. Now, I know that maybe sound harsh. He just got over it. No, he didn't get over it. I showed you he went through some depression as he was fasting, as he was pouring out to the Lord, his heart. He went through some distress in his life. And that's like many of us. Both stories told from the perspective of from the prodigal son's father, from the prodigal son's brother, from the prodigal son, and from King David. But we never hear the story from the prodigal son's mother's point of view. We never hear it from Bathsheba's point of view. Two women who have lost a son. Now, in the prodigal son's case, his mother lost him because he left, which wasn't a bad thing. Keep this in mind. But if the father's depressed, she's depressed as well. And so they're both mourning and grieving because their son has went off to a foreign land and they don't have any clue what he's doing. And so depression can set in at that state, just a state of depression from just letting your son leave the family structure. And so she's depressed because it's her son, came out of her womb. This is her baby. This is her baby boy leaving to go sow his oats, and you hope he does well, but he doesn't. He comes back in. And so we never see what she goes through, but we know she goes through a lot. Now Bathsheba, we know Bathsheba goes through something because she loses a child, to death. And from what I've been told, the worst loss, the worst pain a woman could ever have, a mother could ever receive, is losing a child. And so we know she's depressed. We know she's distressed. We know she's having some problems. But her voice is not told through this depression that she's going through. And so I just wanted to shed some light on her voice, on the prodigal son's mother voice, and on Bathsheba's voice, that they both go through depression. Women, some of you are going through depression right now. You lost a child. And I can't even imagine how that feels. I can't. But I know that depression can set in. And some of us have lost loved ones, family members, friends. And that can be a grieving, a mourning, a depression that can set in. All I can advise you is don't get lost in the midst of your lost. Because if you get lost in the midst of your lost, then you're lost. And it's hard for you to come out of that lost. Because that's a place that most of us dare not try to venture into. That's a dark place of depression that no one should go in and stay in. We all go there, but most of us, somehow we make it through. Somehow God pulls us through it. I pray that you realize that depression can come from many states, from many forms. But the worst kind can come from a death of a loved one, the loss of a loved one. That's what depression is. It's losing something, losing someone. Be careful losing yourself in the midst of that loss, though. Be careful. Being in debt financially, and most of us can kind of relate to this one. The prodigal son lost all of his money, so he returned home. Being in debt is a loss of your financial freedom, if you will, your financial flexibility. And so you become a slave to debtors. That can be a depression. I can tell you right for sure it's a stress in your family because people fight over money every single day. Someone's fighting right now. Someone's upset right now because the money is not being handled correctly. Because someone has 19 credit cards. Someone, and when I say someone, I mean both of you probably have 19, 20 credit cards, and you're living off of that type of mindset that we'll just keep putting it off and putting it off. Well, that's a loss of your financial freedom. And that's going to bite you in the honey one day because you're going to wake up and you're going to realize how much indebted you are, how much of a slave you become to a financial institution that you didn't have to. This is a self-inflicted wound. You don't have to go out and live with the Joneses. See, that's a loss that you don't have to really and take on. But we do. We all do. We've all been there. We've all had a financial issue. My thing is, that's a loss, if you will. That's a loss you have to deal with, a loss of freedom of being flexible. And I don't care what you say. Once you're free and you're liberated, you never want to go back to being a slave or enslaved to anyone. As a matter of fact, you can't be risky being in debt. See, when you're debt free, you can take all the risks you want to take because you're debt free. But when you're holding on on the edge, if you will, and just trying to survive, I mean, come on, that's some depression setting up on you and your family. Your stress, your distress, your depression is felt throughout the whole family. I mean, none of us can buy anything. We can't do anything. We can't go anywhere because of the decision that you made. And you allowed this depression now to come over, this dark cloud to come over the entire family. Be careful owing anyone. The Bible tells us in Romans 13, 8 and 10. You've got to hear this. This is so powerful. I know I've read this, but I don't know if I've ever just caught it the way God is showing us through this particular text right now. Romans chapter 13, verse 8 and 10. It says it like this. Owe no man anything. Powerful. You won't be depressed. You won't be distressed. You won't be stressed out if you don't owe any man anything. The Bible says, owe no man anything. You get that? Please, if you can, work on getting debt free. Owe no man anything but to love one another. Watch this. For he that loveth another hath fulfilled the law. Now, I knew that part about owe no man anything. I knew that part. I think we all did. Become the lender, not the borrower. I think we all know that part as well. But to love one another. Watch this. God said, if you're going to be indebted to anyone, owe them your love. For he that loveth another hath fulfilled the law. I did not know that these commandments was behind this particular scripture. For this, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness, thou shalt not covet. And if there be any other commandment, it is briefly comprehended in this saying, namely, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Love worketh no ill, watch this, no depression, to his neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfilling of the law. Now, what the Lord is telling us, if you will follow and obey those commandments. See, God has given us a blueprint. He's given us a template to be successful in life, to not get into all these little depression areas of our life, to not have all this stress in our life. We just won't follow the blueprint. And so we walk right into it. Yeah, we walk right into all this depression. We walk right into all this debt. We walk right into all these issues in our lives because we just won't, watch this, we won't bow and serve Him versus serving them. That's where we are. You've got to bow to serve Him. Them don't mean too much to you in the long run. No, this is just a season with them, but you've got eternity with Him. If you want to get out of depression, if you want to stay out of depression, if you want to be delivered, yes. If you want to be, you can't be pain-free. It's just impossible. But there is a way to be stressless, okay? There's a way to have what I call good stress in your life versus bad stress. Yes. The loss of a loved one, that is a trying time. It's a trying season. I've lost loved ones. You've lost loved ones. We will lose other loved ones. But there's a way to maneuver through it, transition through it. There's a way to transition through each loved one's loss. Through losing things. There's a way to transition through losing things in life. Things will get better. If you follow, I'm telling you, Romans 13, 8 and 10. Please read this. Read this and adopt this. Romans 13, chapter 13, verses 8 through 10. You just have to get this in your spirit. Oh, no man. No man. Losses will come. They will. And we can't prevent those from happening. So that's something we're going to have to deal with, okay? But there's other stuff we're putting on top of the losses. We can prevent that stuff. Remember, David could have prevented the loss of a son if he wouldn't have had an adulterous affair. He could have. The prodigal son could have prevented losing all of his inheritance if he wouldn't have went out and not had what I call common sense and used good judgment. He could have invested his money and made more money. But he went out and he wasted it all. And those things happen in life, okay? So let's just get past it. Things will happen. But how do you prevent it from happening going forward? Well, guess what? Romans 13, 8 and 10 tells you, owe no man. You see, if you don't owe no man, guess what? You owe no man. So your love is all you owe everyone else. You owe your love. But to love one another is what God tells us. That's what you owe each other. Look at your family structure. And your children are similar to the prodigal son. You've got children who've left. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's their responsibility. That's a part of their DNA. They should be leaving and cleaving to their husbands and wives. But there can be some loss filling inside of each one of us when that happens. That's okay. That's natural. I told you it's going to happen. That's fine. Then you don't want to be like David, though. You don't want to be committing adultery and having a child who the Lord strikes down, or having an issue in your life who the Lord strikes down. Keep in mind, you can flip this. It don't have to be adultery. It could be anything. Stealing, killing. It could be anything that you're doing that the Lord is not pleased with. And so you can find yourself being in harm's way, and you can find yourself being depressed. Yes, the mothers, the wives were depressed. The women in this story were very depressed. And I just want to kind of shed light on depression comes to all of us. It starts with one person, more than likely, and then it matriculates through the whole family. And so we're all impacted, we're all infected by depression. How you deal with this is what's important. Don't go and mask this pain in your life with more pain by taking drugs and taking alcohol in. No, you're putting more pain on top of pain now. Because now what you're doing, you're going to impact the whole family structure, because now you're not only depressed in this pain, now you're putting what I call self-medicating your issue. You can't keep self-medicating your issue. It's like having one credit card and you can't pay it off, so you go get another credit card to pay off this card, so you get another credit card to pay off this card. You just keep putting pain on top of pain. You keep putting issues on top of issues, circumstances on top of circumstances. You keep making the problem worse. When do you stop making it worse and start being delivered from it? When do you stop making wrong wrong and you start putting right on top of wrong, so right can just simply get victory over wrong in your life? Yes, don't self-medicate yourself. If you need counseling, if you need help, go get it. Hey, go get it. You need to get whatever you need to get past where you are. But don't put pain on top of pain. Do like King David did. Yeah, clean yourself up. Shake it off. Have your praise moments. Have your crying moments. But don't let loss impact you to a point that you start self-medicating yourself. That is the wrong thing to do. Yeah, let wrong be conquered by right and move forward in your life. In the midst of your depression, God makes it very clear to all of us that He is with us. He tells us in the book of Hebrews, chapter 13, verse 5, that He will never leave us nor forsake us. That means I got you. Yeah, when you're going through, I'm holding on to you. I've got you. Yeah, if you can just keep your head up, if you can just understand that God is there with you, you can keep afloat. Now you got to make sure you keep afloat, though. You can't give in. God says, I will never leave you. So if He won't leave you, He's with you. He's got you covered. He's got you protected. You're going to go through because you've lost something dear to you. So that's okay. It's going to happen. That's natural. But God said, I got you, though. Yes, I will never leave you. God says, I'm always with you. And then He says, I will never forsake you. God says, no. I don't care how bad it is, what it was, what happened, I've got you still. Because you're mine. And so for all of us, all of you who find yourself being depressed, who find yourself in a state of depression, realize God is with you. God is cheering you on. God is for you. If He be for you, He's more than those against you. God is saying, but I need you to hold on, though. Yeah, I need you to fight through this. I need you to mourn and grieve, and I need you to keep on moving. Yes, I don't need you to get stalled here in the midst of this depression. Have it for a season, and let's move forward. If you keep on moving, guess what? You'll never slide back into it. But you got to keep on moving forward. There's a way to move, and it's called moving forward. God wants you to move in and out of these stages in our lives. He never wants you to get stuck. He never planned for you to get stuck. He planned for you to think your way through it. Yes, whatever it is, whatever you got yourself into, God says, think your way through it. Yes, it's no need to be doing something that you can do for yourself. God said, call me in for the heavy lifting. Yes, that you can do, then get busy doing it. That you need God to do, God will always come through for you. I'm telling you, depression is natural. Now, but living and dwelling in it, that's unnatural. Make sure we know how to move through it. Yes, so we can have a testimony for someone else who will travel down the same road as we are. Be blessed.